Welcome back to EWTN News In Depth. Louisiana is considered one of the most pro-life states in the country and is one of 13 states with a trigger law that will ban abortion if Roe v. Wade is overturned. In a rare case of bipartisanship, all 5 women in the Louisiana Senate are pro-life, and they spearhead pro-life legislation that defends the unborn and supports vulnerable women. The 5 senators, Regina Barrow, Heather Cloud, Sharon Hewitt, Katrina Jackson, and Beth Mizell, are adamant in their support for the unborn both in and out of Louisiana's Capitol building. They often appear together at pro-life rallies, including a march with Louisiana Right to Life last week in Baton Rouge. Some of the legislation they're fighting for includes prohibiting the sale of abortion pills without a prescription, increasing criminal penalties for abortion providers under the state's trigger laws, and creating the Office on Women's Health within the Louisiana Department of Health. All women senators present voted in favor of the bills. The bills are now waiting to pass through the State House of Representatives. 3 of these state senators, Democrats Senator Barrow, Senator Jackson, and Republican Senator Mizell, joins us today to discuss their unique bipartisan unity to protect the unborn. It's wonderful to have you here with us. Senator Barrow, the last woman in the Louisiana state legislature to support abortion resigned last month. Do you think there's more room in the future for women in leadership to be pro-life?
Well, absolutely. I believe that there's always a chance. However, from the section of the state that she actually came from, it's a little bit more liberal than what we all represent. So the likelihood may not be, but, everything is possible. Whoever thought that you would have had 5 women serving in the Senate pro-life?
That's right. And Senator Mizell, that bipartisan unity that you have in Louisiana is very unique. What made speaking in one voice possible?
I think that we all come from a very strong faith-based belief place. A lot of our bills are to protect victims, or to protect children, or to offer some solutions that the bureaucracy is kind of overlooked in victims. And it's just natural that we would all want to protect life and protect the unborn. But I can't tell you how I love hearing my colleague's voice on the call. It's great that we're all united with this.
It's beautiful to see women helping women. Senator Jackson, you authored a bill that would criminalize providing abortions. What is significant or different about this bill?
Well, the vast difference is, and very significant, is that Louisiana already has trigger laws. My bill also has a trigger law if and when, I say when because I'm very hopeful, that the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade, that immediately abortions in the state of Louisiana will be illegal. And with that, it's my new bill that accompanies that talks about criminalizing those who perform illegal abortions. The difference is in some states you've seen, and even in ours, you've seen legislation offered that would criminalize women. And ours doesn't. The woman that finds herself in a vulnerable position would not be criminalized, but those performing those illegal abortions would be criminalized.
It's a very important point you make about protecting women. Senator Barrow, let's talk about your bill to create the Office on Women's Health. How do you want this office to support pregnant women and mothers?
Well, I am so excited about this bill. I feel like it's been a long time coming. And so I wanted to be able to provide the continuity of services that women need, starting like with the program that we have called the Nurse Partnership. Right now, that part is a great program, but it's kind of fragmented. So I would like to see that brought in, helping women from the day of beginning, helping them being able to navigate through the pregnancy to a healthy delivery, and then helping them throughout the process so that they have a healthy child and a mother in a healthy state.
And do you think that that is a position of leadership, like you're trying to lead the rest of the country in this initiative?
I do. I would hope that many would actually see this as an opportunity of being able to really thread the continuity of care and services for women, because we know at the end of the day, when the mother does well, the child does well. And so this, to me, is the launching pad of ensuring that they are receiving the services that they need so that they can be extremely healthy.
Senator Mizell, you authored a bill that allows outpatients to bring cell phones into abortion clinics. This is something that's not talked about very often. Why does this matter so much?
It was amazing to me. I would get calls from counselors that would be at the abortion clinic parking lot to counsel with the women that were going in to see if some of their needs could be met, that maybe they would reconsider their decision. And they reached out to me and said, you know, the patients in the abortion clinics can have a phone when they go into the facility. And I couldn't believe that, because it's such a basic expectation of any patient, especially, the abortion clinic patients would be there all day. They're sitting in a waiting room most of the morning until they would be seen in the afternoon. They wouldn't be able to reach out to a loved one, and the loved one couldn't call them. So it's amazing to me that, you know, at a very basic level, this is a right that we would expect every woman to have when they're going through a procedure that is not only medically frightening, but emotionally devastating to a lot of people, that they need that support, whether they're going to do it or not. So,
and that they wouldn't find opportunities to find information to be able to change their minds. Do you think that that had something to do with it?
Absolutely. I think that's why the pro-abortion lobby was against it, because otherwise it just seems like such a benign thing to ask for a patient to be able to have their phone. But there were a lot of really ridiculous excuses on why they shouldn't have their phone. But just like you said, at a basic level, they need to be able to reach out and to receive calls, whether it's a counseling call or a loved one checking on their wellness. So it was important. And it was an interesting conversation this year.
It's definitely unique. Senator Jackson, aside from legislation, what steps are necessary to replicate the unity that you have in Louisiana in other parts of the country?
Well, I think what my colleague said, that we're uniquely unique from some other states in that our legislatures face. But the steps I believe are necessary is what you see happening here. Whether we're Democrat or Republican women, when we come together to fight for life, we fight for life at every stage of life. We are right now with the foresight of President Pro Tem Beth Mizell, secured $1.9 million, I think it was, for funding for sex trafficking victims. And those are the steps that's needed, that we look at the care of children and women and advocate for that at every stage of life. Also, our Senator Barrow chairs the Select Committee on Women in Government. All women of the Senate sit on that committee. That has brought a lot of unity on issues with life, issues with children and women, and what's needed. And so we stand together in that committee, and we hold special committee meetings just to deal with issues affecting women and children. I think that has been one of the most effective committees on unifying us and keeping us together and well informed.
Well, you're definitely leaders for the rest of the country. Senator Barrow, I'm curious about your personal story. You've mentioned that you had discrimination in your decision to keep your child. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, early on, a long time ago, when my husband and I were dating, and I became pregnant before marriage, and that was a very, very tough time for me and for my husband. We were both the oldest of our family, and my dad often tells me how many, what opportunities he had for me. But I actually decided to keep our daughter, which to this day I am so extremely grateful that I did. And as a result of that, my stance in terms of taking a pro-life stance, there were issues that I faced with the party initially, especially in the very beginning, before Senator Jackson joined me. There were, a lot of ugly comments that I received and criticism. So I continue to stand on what I believe, and also just my personal story of how my life would have been changed and redirected had I made, if I had decided to abort my daughter, which I didn't, and now I have a grandson that happens to be Senator Jackson's godson.
That's beautiful to hear, that you not only have connections because of your pro-life stance, but also because you're partners in your journey in faith. That's wonderful to hear. Is there anything, a message in particular that you have then for standing tall for young women who want to have a career, want to be leaders just like the three of you are? Any advice for them?
I would say real quickly that I would say real quickly that you know God has a purpose for everything that we go through in life, and I can tell you my life journey has helped me to be able to help others, and I have actually spent my time doing that. So whatever God has for you, no man can stop it. And even if you make a mistake, and some people might call that a mistake, it's not a mistake. It's just really preparing you for the next stage of your life.
Senator Jackson, you wanted to give a piece of advice?
Sure. I would just say, number one, keep God first in everything that you do. Number two, never underestimate yourself, even when you find yourself in a situation that you did not believe you will be in. That we have to, as women, have the tenacity and some say the unmitigated gall to think past our what some think are failures and mistakes, and to think to a brighter day. There is a large portion of America who are successful women and who have made mistakes, who have seen trials and tribulations, and they've forged forward. And that's what I would tell people right now. That's what keeps me going. I'm sure that's what keeps my colleagues going in everything that we do. Our lives are not perfect. And get you a mentor. I would say that to every young woman. Get with someone who can mentor you, who will be honest about their life, even if they're successful now, who doesn't mind sharing what happened and how they got there. That is so very important for young women.
Sharing their journey. Senator Mizell, quickly, your piece of advice.
I think let God use you. Use your life experiences to follow where God's taken you, and just stay strong in your belief system, and don't be afraid. You can't be afraid. God's got you in his hand.
Thank you so much. Refreshing food for thought and great leadership. Really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.